beautiful day here in San Francisco. Super warm. Anyway, excited to check out the show, so let's go in and see what it looks like. All right, so this is my 7th solo show at Studio Gallery in San Francisco, and I'll just give you the information here. Studio Gallery is at 1641 Pacific Avenue between Polk and Van Ness in San Francisco, and the show has 40 paintings of my new paintings, and it runs from October 15th to November 2nd, 2020. And I will put a link down below if you want to see images, purchase info, that sort of thing. Things are running a little differently this year because of the obvious reasons. There was no reception and there's going to be no artist talk. I will be doing an artist talk on YouTube here. So after you watch this video, if you have questions or if there are things you want me to talk about as far as the show goes, like regarding, you know, what inspired me to do certain things or what materials I use or anything, it could be anything. Just put them in the comments below, and then I'm gonna make an artist talk video where I talk about the show. So keeping the questions related to the show would be great. And also I'll also talk about sort of my beginnings and how I got into painting. But let's talk about the show. Seems like my cityscapes do really well in my Studio Gallery shows. So I always try to have a fair amount of cityscapes. And I haven't counted it exactly, but it might be it actually might be more than half of the paintings are actually city-related paintings. But almost everything else is in Northern California. There are a few that are in, do I have any from Laguna? I don't think so this year. Everything is Northern California. There's one that's down in San Simeon, which is like sort of a sunset painting. But everything else is in Northern California, and like I said, a lot of it is in San Francisco. Most of them are like city views. There is one that is a painting of Stowe Lake that was done in plein air. But what I'd like to talk about first is the 12 by 12 inch cityscapes. I believe I did 10 of them this year, and those are fun and challenging. You know, I want to capture an authentic look of San Francisco, but something that maybe has a really interesting or unusual lighting effect. Also, like a lot of sort of dusk scenes, because the lighting is so interesting. You know, either strong light and shadow or some interesting lighting effect. That's what motivates me the most. So those have been very popular. In fact, I think they've almost all sold at this point. I think there might be 2 left out of the 10. So I also did some larger cityscapes. I did a 16 by 16 of a corner cafe in Hayes Valley. And that's a larger version of a painting I did in a previous show. I think I'd done a 12 by 12 and I really liked that subject matter and wanted to do a larger version. And then I also did an experimental piece of Nob Hill, very abstract, just mostly focusing on the buildings and the light on those buildings. And that's a 20 by 20. And then I did 2 large 36 by 36 inch cityscapes, one of which actually made it onto the postcard. It was part of the promotional material. And both of those large cityscapes were of Mason Street. And the thing I like about Mason Street is I could go up on Nob Hill by the Fairmont Hotel, up by the like Mark Hopkins, and then look down at Mason and you can see the bay in the distance. And that's a view that I really like. So I've painted that several times. And I decided to do both of my large paintings of Mason Street this year. Speaking of large paintings, there's one other large painting that I did, which was of some rowboats. And actually that painting was from Maine, and I'd had that image for a long time, and I just like the abstract shapes of those boats. I kind of experimented with a smaller version and I liked it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a larger version for this show. There are a couple of other semi-large paintings that are 48 inches high by 12 inches wide, And those were from a show that I did earlier in the year, I believe in March, at Arc Gallery, south of Market in San Francisco. And unfortunately, that show kicked off right as lockdown was beginning, and I don't think that show did very well. But I was really happy with those paintings, so I did include those as well. So another category of paintings that I focused on was wave paintings. And you guys may have seen my videos about wave paintings, and I've done both like plein air wave paintings and then paintings that I do from photographs as well, or digital images. And mostly I do them in a panoramic format, which would be like 11 by 22. So it's kind of a 1:2 ratio panorama. And I've been doing those for several years. This year, for the first time, I started experimenting with glare on the water. There was only one glare wave painting that made it into this show. But that's something I want to explore more. It's kind of a fun challenge, and it's a lighting effect that I think is really dramatic. And so I'd like to do that more and explore that sort of subject more. So I think next year there'll be more waves with glare. All right, so every year I kind of try to push myself to do something outside my comfort zone or something a little different. This year I would say that would be the painting of the Boathouse in Inverness. Inverness is up in, I believe it's Tomales Bay, Point Reyes area in Marin County. I wanted to include a lot of the sky and the water and everything, and it just seemed like the boat and the boathouse would be difficult to do because there was so much detail, and yet I wanted to keep it loose. As you guys know, it's kind of my style. So I decided to do it on in a larger format. I did a 20 by 20, and I really ended up liking it a lot. So I included that. That was an experiment that I ended up including in the show. And then also a painting of Mojave, which was another image that I'd had for a long time, and I liked this sort of railroad crossing out in the desert, that sort of desolate feeling. I've had that image probably for 10 years. I tried to do it, I did a painting of it before, it didn't come out very well, I just decided that I would do it again. I would give it another try. And then there were a few other experiments, like the shoes, my daughter's old Converse All-Stars, try to keep it really loose. And then also a lobster buoy to try to get convincing reflections on the water. Also like the complementary, sort of orange colors with the blue of the seawater. And that was a fun painting to do. Then also a tricycle, and I'd done like a 6x6 of the tricycle, and I always liked that. I'd actually done several versions of that, and I think I'd sold all of those. They were very popular, so I thought, I'm gonna try a bigger version of the tricycle and see if it works. So I did a 10 by 10, so it's not huge. The final thing that was included in the show are the plein air paintings that are mostly from the videos that I've posted here on YouTube. So I sort of chose my favorites of the plein air paintings, and some of these paintings actually took a while for me to complete. There was a painting that I did of houses out at Fort Baker, which is just north of Golden Gate, and that painting I did over a year ago, and I liked the painting, but it just there were certain challenges, things that I couldn't resolve, so I just set it aside. And as I was looking for paintings to include in this year's show, I found that one, and I was like, wow, I should really try to resolve this thing. And it took like 4 sessions to kind of figure it out. The criteria I use for including paintings in the show is this a painting I would hang on my wall in my house? And if not, then I don't include it. So these are all paintings I feel, proud of, and that I feel that I would be happy to live with in my own home environment. All right, so there's a little tour of the paintings and a little explanation of how I put this show together. And like I said, you can, there'll be a link down below if you want to see the images, or if you're interested in purchasing a painting, or if you want to go to the gallery and actually see the paintings on the wall. It will be open until November 2nd. So, like I said, leave questions down below. I'm going to do an artist talk within the next few days. Try to post that by this weekend. So if you have questions about, just about anything, I will talk about how I got into painting and that sort of thing. And but any questions you have and you want to hear in the artist talk, just put them down below, and I will put that video out in a few days. So as usual, thanks for hanging out, guys, and I will see you in the next video.